owners and delegates on the contents of mailboxes, and administrator audit logging, which logs actions taken by administrators while they are managing the Exchange environment. What are the Globomantic's objectives when it comes to auditing? Well, as it turns out, after the security incident, the investigators discovered that there was a lack of audit logs that would prove or disprove various theories about who might have been involved in the incident. At times in the investigation, Dave, the systems engineer, has been unable to provide answers to questions like who accessed mailbox content. In particular, if multiple people can access a mailbox, which delegate accessed the mailbox content. So he needs to be able to log access by delegates. Who made changes to Exchange configurations, such as adding or removing permissions to a mailbox. So he needs to be able to log changes made by the Exchange administrators as well. Before we go further, let me just make an important point. Exchange auditing will not provide 100% coverage for a typical environment. Yes, Exchange has audit logging capabilities, but they are only related to Exchange itself. There's still additional audit logging that you should take into consideration for things like Active Directory, remote access to Windows servers, and so on. And of course, effective auditing also relies on good administrative controls, such as not providing excessive privileges to administrator accounts. The principle of least privilege applies here, because often the administrators with the highest tier of admin privilege can mess with the audit settings or even clear audit logs. So let's start with mailbox audit logging. The goal of mailbox audit logging is to track the actions taken by mailbox owners and delegates on mailbox folders and items. Despite that very admirable goal, mailbox audit logging is actually disabled by default. It's generally a good idea to turn on mailbox audit logging, but some understanding of the impact and how it works is needed to ensure that you get the results that you need. So let's talk about storage impact. The audit logs for a mailbox are stored within the mailbox itself, in a subfolder of the recoverable items folder, which is hidden from the user. This means that enabling audit logging is going to have an impact on mailbox size and therefore will increase the overall size of the mailbox databases. But by how much? Well, it depends on a few factors. Let's consider the actions that are logged by mailbox audit logging. For mailbox owners, nothing is logged by default, which makes sense. The mailbox owner is accessing their mailbox all day, doing a lot of changes. That would generate quite a lot of logging that takes up a lot of storage space and would be of very little use during an investigation just because of the sheer volume of log data that it would create. But one recommendation I will make is to enable logging of soft delete, hard delete, and move to deleted items. The reason I suggest turning these on, if you're going to turn on mailbox audit logging at all, is so that you can prove whether a mailbox owner has deleted mailbox content either inadvertently or on purpose. This can be useful in support scenarios as well as in investigations. Delegates are anyone who has been added as a delegate for the mailbox, either by the mailbox owner or by an Exchange administrator granting them mailbox permissions. So this would be scenarios such as an executive and their assistants, or a team that uses a shared mailbox. Deletes are already logged by default for delegates, as is send as, which is useful for proving who sent an email as the shared mailbox. Admins are not administrators in the sense of IT admins, but rather administrative access via e-discovery search or mailbox import and export using PST files, or direct access by external tools such as MFC Mappy. The compliance search that we looked at in the previous module of this course, removing data from mailbox contents, would count as an admin action. As you can see, quite a few more actions are audited for admins, but the volume is not likely to be very high because this type of access is usually quite infrequent. Of the three, delegates is the one that could have the biggest impact on the amount of audit logging for a particular mailbox. A large team that shares a very high volume shared mailbox is going to generate a lot more audit logging than a single executive assistant who helps their boss out with managing a calendar. As far as other factors go, the audit log age limit controls how long the audit log data is retained for. 90 days is the default, and the data will be purged when it's older than that. You can make it longer or shorter, and that will increase or decrease the storage impact accordingly. Service accounts are also an important consideration. If you've got service accounts that have access to all of the mailboxes in the organization, perhaps a third-party mobile device management system or an email archiving system, then those connections are going to generate a high volume of mailbox audit logging. If you have such a service account, you can configure an audit logging bypass by running the set mailbox audit bypass association commandlet for that service account. Globomantics wants to use mailbox audit logging to monitor actions taken on shared mailboxes and is also interested in trialing it for some select users for tracking owner actions. Our systems engineer Dave needs to enable and configure the auditing, so let's go into the Globomantics environment and look at how to configure mailbox audit logging. First, let's take a look at the default mailbox audit logging for one particular mailbox. As you can see, the default is that auditing is disabled. The audit log age limit is 90 days. Admin and delegate actions are logged, but there's no owner actions logged. Now, owner actions for a shared mailbox don't make too much sense. The shared mailbox never actually logs on as the mailbox owner. All of the action is occurring for delegates. So for this shared mailbox, all we really need to do is enable mailbox audit logging. For individuals, such as Kevin Surface, who showed up in the eDiscovery search, turning on mailbox audit logging is just one step, but also enabling logging of owner actions for soft delete, hard delete, and moved to deleted items is also a good idea so that those actions can be tracked if the owner is trying to clear out suspicious emails. A mailbox audit logging doesn't always take effect straight away. There may be a delay of a few hours before any of the actions start to be logged, and logging can also be delayed because it is a background action. So it's not unusual to find that the audit logs for particular events do not show up in searches, sometimes for hours, sometimes as much as 24 hours later. Now that we've got some mailbox auditing enabled in Globomantics, let's take a look at how Dave can assist investigations by searching mailbox audit logs. For delegate scenarios, the search mailbox audit log commandlet can be used to search for logon types of delegate. So in this case, let's look at the help desk mailbox, and there is at least one result there. Taking a look at those details, we can see that the operation was send as and that it was successful. It looks like the sender was Dave himself, and the subject was a virus warning that he sent out, warning the staff in the organization about the virus email that was received in everybody's inboxes. So as you can see, mailbox audit logging very quickly gives you visibility into who is sending as a mailbox, which is going to be important for proving who is responsible for the emails that are being sent from that shared mailbox. Search mailbox audit log can also look for the logon type of owner. We'll check the CEO's mailbox, Adam Wally, and we can see that there is a very long list of results, perhaps a little bit too much information. So let's see if we can narrow that down by just selecting some specific fields: the logon user display name, the source item subject, the source item folder, and the operation. And that's a little bit clearer, but I think we can even tidy that up a bit further, perhaps by outputting that as a table. And that's much better. So in this case, we can see that for the CEO's mailbox, Adam himself is the only one who has been deleting contents from the mailbox. So this would be important for proving who had inadvertently or intentionally deleted some mailbox contents. Now, some mailbox audit log searches can be very slow to return results, especially if you're searching a large volume of logs over a very long period of time. The results are also a little more useful if they're able to be provided in XML format. So the new mailbox audit log search commandlet can be used to create the search as a background job that the Exchange server will process for you, and it will then eventually email the status mail recipient that is nominated in the command with an XML file with the results of that search. Finally, let's look at administrator audit logging. The goal of administrator audit logging is to log the changes that have been made by administrators who are using Exchange management tools. Non-Exchange management tools, such as Active Directory users and computers, are not logged. Admin audit logging is enabled by default, but there's still some configuration options to consider. For the default admin log configuration, logs are retained for 90 days. And by the way, the admin audit logs for the entire organization are stored in one of the arbitration mailboxes, which are system mailboxes. All commandlets that can make changes are logged. and so are all the parameters of those commandlets. Commandlets that can make changes are those such as remove mailbox as opposed to get mailbox, because get mailbox only retrieves data, and the log level is set to none. A log level of none sounds a bit useless, but what it actually means is that the commandlet that was run, the parameters that are used, who ran the command, and the object that was modified by the command are all logged. The other value is verbose, which also logs the old and new values for the properties that were modified. Useful information, so increasing the log level to verbose is worth considering. Globomantics definitely wants to know what exchange commands are being run and want more than 90 days of log data available, so Dave the systems engineer needs to take a look at that config. Let's go into the Globomantics environment and look at using administrator audit logging. First of all, let's look at increasing the admin audit log age limit to 365 days, just to give Globomantics a little bit more visibility into the history of admin changes going on in the organization. Of course, this change is not retrospective. It won't instantly create 365 days of log history, but if you configure it, today's actions will be maintained for that length of time. We'll also set the log level to verbose in the same action. Notice that the admin audit log configuration changes may take up to 60 minutes to take effect. Now let's take a look and see if there's been any instances of the use of the commandlet add mailbox permission. And yes, it does look like there have been a few cases where that commandlet has been used to modify the InfoSec mailbox, the human resources mailbox, the journaling mailbox, and also the help desk mailbox. Let's take a closer look at the changes that were made to the help desk mailbox. Now we can see that the administrator account ran the add mailbox permission commandlet and used the identity, access rights, and user parameters. But what values were actually passed to those parameters? Well, we can take a closer look at that by capturing the results in a variable, which I'll just call results, and then taking a closer look at the commandlet parameters. And in this view, we can see that the access rights that were granted were full access, and the user that they were granted to was Dave Bedrat. Now, in a similar way to mailbox audit log searches, you can also use the new admin audit log search to perform long-running searches and have the results emailed to a specific recipient. And then the XML file that is received can be ingested into a reporting tool or anything else that would help to analyze that information. In this module, we looked at two useful auditing capabilities of Exchange 2016. Mailbox audit logging for tracking who is doing what in mailboxes, and administrator audit logging for tracking what administrators are up to. Which brings us to the end of this course. Let's recap what Dave has been able to achieve for Globomantics. He configured data loss prevention policies to control leaks of customer financial information and internal human resources information. He implemented retention policies to manage the archive and removal of mailbox data. He also implemented holds to preserve data for the desired period of time for e-discovery purposes. Dave also configured mail tips and message classifications to help users avoid making email mistakes. And he also improved the audit logging configuration to help with future investigations. What's next? Look for additional Pluralsight courses in the Exam 70-345 series. And if you're interested in additional reading to help you prepare for the certification exam, the official exam ref for 70-345 from Microsoft Press, for which I am a co-author, is available in stores now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next course.